I saw a traditional route lah. Study well, get good grades, get a good job, settle down, retire eventually, and suddenly it's like, that's not the answer.
Welcome to the Building Series podcast, a show where we speak to founders and business leaders to uncover their motivations, challenges, and bold decisions behind building and scaling their businesses. In this episode, I'm joined by Zhang Weijia, the next generation business leader at Hi-Beau Group, which owns the largest NSF GMP-certified supplements factory in Singapore that formulates, manufactures, and distributes health and wellness supplements trusted by millions of their customers. That's quite a mouthful, Zhang.
Oh, it is.
Can you tell us what it really means to be NSF GMP certified in Singapore?
Sure. First, thank you, Dinesh and OCBC for having me here. In the supplements factory, right, this industry, a lot of people have this misconception that supplements have to be HSA approved before they can be sold. And how do we really go into like certification for our quality and safety standards, right? Will be by organizations giving GMP, which stands for Good Manufacturing Practice.
Right.
So think of GMP like a degree. And then there will be like a university that gives out the degree. So we have the organization that is NSF. So they are kind of the Harvard of universities. They are the top tier ones. We are the first Singapore supplements factory and the largest one to get this GMP certification. And I'm so proud.
All right. Yeah. Congrats. Okay, before we dive into the discussion, I'd just like to take a moment to thank our season sponsor, OCBC. As Asia's best SME bank, OCBC has been supporting serial entrepreneurs in Singapore and Malaysia since 2019, making it the only SME bank built to back your journey, venture after venture. OCBC Serial Entrepreneurs, giving all your businesses all the support you need. Since Hi-Beau Group started in 2004, it has expanded into new areas of businesses, from owning just a single health supplement brand to owning its own R&D and manufacturing facility in Singapore, with their made-in-Singapore products sold across 15 countries today. So in case the audience, you haven't realized it, we're recording this episode at Hi-Beau's Group office. And you can see all the supplements behind us. Okay, so the first question, I just wanted to start by saying that, Hi-Beau Group, I understand, started in 2004.
Yes.
So by the time you joined in 2013, it had already been running for like 9-10 years, a decade, So it started by your mom first, from what I understand, then your dad joined a bit later. So what was the plan for you to join the business? Was it always for you to eventually join it? Or was it something that just happened organically?
Okay, it happened all of a sudden. None of us expected it. So when my parents started the business, I was 9. And because we're also lucky because our business is in nutrition and health. So it's something very relatable. It's not like construction or something that, I will not go into it. So I always had the idea that eventually I would come into the business. But when I joined in 2013, that was completely by chance. Did not expect to join so early. So back then, I was only 18.
Okay.
And like many girls of that age, I actually wanted to start a fashion business. I even went to China to import a batch of accessory to sell online. Back on the family business side, right, we had 2 problems. Number one, we were only in traditional channels, so like the pharmacies, TCM stores and all this. It was growing quite stagnant, and as years goes by, the cost increased, but sales revenue remains stagnant. That's an issue. And then number 2, we had a huge waste issue, right? So for product side, we cannot give products, right, that are less than 12-month expiry into the pharmacies. So 12 months is a very long time. And some of our products are produced with only 18 to 24 months of expiry. So essentially, like with warehousing, delivery, stocking the stores and everything, we only had a window of a few months to sell the products. And then it will be returned to us. And that's such a waste. We didn't have any other channels. So it was like a really big crisis moment where if we cannot get over this hurdle, we probably have to close the company. So yikes moment, right? At that time, online marketplaces also came in. Q10, we had Lazada coming in. And my parents were like, okay, you know what? You're trying some online business, right? They have this impression, it's a young person thing. Why not you just start another store and try to sell our products as well? So like kind of function like a distributor, have an extra channel. Surprisingly, it actually became the solution to our crisis. First month, just on my own, I put in 2 SKUs. We did 19,000 in sales.
Wow.
And eventually we grew e-commerce all the way to bring in 20 mil a year. Yeah,
Wow.
so
Okay.
slowly, step by step, that's when I spent the last 12 years of my life working on all of these developments.
I imagine
Yeah.
every family business, especially when you said you were a bit smaller back then,
Yep.
also there's always this this is how we do things,
Oh
the
yeah,
culture of this is how
definitely.
we do things. So I'm wondering what it was like for a young person. I mean, you were
Uh-huh.
18 years old, stepping into a culture where, maybe there might have been, maybe there wasn't.
Yes.
Can you take us through that
Okay, so
process?
there is a little bit of that. I don't think it's really bad. It was mostly evidence-based. We have a very fun way of solving all this dispute, right? We will actually do mathematical calculation and
Wow.
concept of proof to go through all this. Like we will really go to the whiteboard and we will draw we will draw like R square formulas, and we'll draw graphs, and we'll put in all the assumptions and numbers to fight it
Okay.
out. So those ones are easy, and if it's something that we can easily test quickly, we'll do A/B testing. But what was hard was maybe some of the thoughts about like working atmosphere. Young people always have this very new age ideas and
Okay.
stuff, right? So that will get a little bit more intense. As a young person coming in, right, you always feel like, my parents are so serious about it, they're so strict, and they're so fierce, you should be nicer and stuff. I feel like I was wrong.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you still have to hold the business by some rules and you start to grow and learn it. It's a perspective shift also, because changing shouldn't just be about changing traditions, but maybe changing my expectations.
Yeah. I mean, it's about changing
From
ourselves as
it's about
well.
changing ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Change doesn't have to be something that's super radical. It can be small, little baby steps forward.
Many family business, there will be this struggle or wrestle between parachuting your
Oh
child
yes.
right at the top, or should you
Yes.
put them somewhere in the middle or right at the
Yes.
bottom, and there's many stories out there that
Oh,
we've
yeah.
read about as well. So I wonder, how was this process like for you? Where were you put
Uh-huh.
in, and was the intention, obviously I think,
Yeah.
to put you all the way up to the top
Yeah.
eventually, but how did that process take place as well?
For me, right, it was easier, more of a natural way to come into the business, because when I joined, I kind of started this whole new branch, which is e-commerce. So it's not like I'm taking over someone,
Yeah.
a senior role. I just go into leadership. I did everything from the ground up. I packed the orders.
It's almost like a startup
Yeah,
within
it's
the
almost a
company,
startup
right?
within the company. Of course, because the staff aren't really prepared for it also. I came in at such a sudden moment, right? Like, it does have it's a little bit strange moments. Like, they don't know where to place me. Like, should they be reporting to me? Should they go through me? And if my parents are overseas or they're sick, then they bring all kinds of problems to me, even though it's like not my domain. So there's a little bit of a mix in that. But I think I didn't really have that kind of struggle where you're just kind of like a baby and you're put into a senior position and suddenly you have to prove yourself.
Yep.
That I didn't have personally.
Maybe during or before you joined, right? You said your parents started this, or your mom started when you were 9 years old.
Yeah.
You must have had like front row seats to a lot of the highs and lows that
so
every
many.
business
many.
goes through, right?
Yes.
What was it like watching these highs and lows as a 9-year-old, and then again maybe 10 years later before you joined? Did it affect you personally in any way?
9 years old, right, is really quite a perfect age, because at this point, when you're seeing this transition, you already have enough understanding of the world to make sense of it. It's not like too young. And it's also not too old either that, you already have like a hardened view on the world or anything like that. And my parents had an interesting transition because they studied very well. My parents are like top scorers. Yeah, they are very good at academics. They have very good jobs. But, because of their entrepreneurship journey, right, they flip-flop. One day they're like, wow, you need to study. That's the only way to change your destiny and stuff. Then next day they're like, actually, I don't know. Maybe studying not so much use, because after that, you have midlife crisis anyway, like some of our friends, right? So I was just like, oh, okay. I think the most important thing that I get is I saw a traditional route. Study well, get good grades, get a good job, settle down, and retire eventually. And suddenly it's like, that's not the answer. So it just widened my perspective by just that little bit, enough for me to start questioning practically everything.
Did you ever speak to your mom and kind of find out like what inspired her to start the business back then?
I think the business is a long time coming. So my maternal grandfather, my mom's dad, he was a hospital director all the way back in 1970, and he worked about 30 years in healthcare. So that's the environment where my mom grew up in, and eventually her job, before starting the business, she was actually a GM in a TCM chain in Singapore. So also very health and nutrition related.
Yeah.
And we actually have a family history of diabetes and all that. So we are already very conscious about our health. So naturally, we would start a business in this. And so also for my mom, maybe kind of a midlife crisis, because she was the GM. She was 39 at the point she wanted to start the business, and she was pregnant with my brother. So there is limited things sometimes when you want to work in someone else's company. I mean, it also depends on the boss, right? But just nice that she felt she was more constricted on what she can do. So she decided, wow, I'm 39, I'm pregnant with my second kid. It's now or never. So she quit her 9 to 5 and she went into a 24/7.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how we started the business.
I mean, that was a leap that I think not many people would take when they're pregnant. Especially, they usually look for stability at that particular point.
Yes, maybe it's very, because of that. Then she feel like, now or never,
So what's your personal experience been working with your parents, and two, maybe dealing with all of that emotional stress that come with working with your parents as well?
When you subtitle this, right, please put stress in capital letters. Really like stress. The stress is insane, okay? Because if you're just going to work and let's say you have disagreements with your colleagues, with your boss, right, you, at the end, everyone kind of can let go from it and you feel like, never mind, whatever. But for us, it's passionate individuals all trying to drive the business, and you really feel like, hey, what I'm doing is the best step for the business, and you really feel that connection with the business long term. None of us can run from the business. We are not going to just quit. So when we have disagreements, it gets really quite, it can get quite bad. Like we'll have disagreements and we'll talk about it all the way through the night sometimes. That's also why I moved out of my parents' place quite early on.
So at least you stopped talking
at
at the end of
least
work.
we have like some cool off period, right? So like I said, we have a lot of evidence-based methods to test things, and then we'll be like, okay, you know what, let's just test it on the ground, A/B testing, a little bit here and there. But the cooling off also works a lot. Like sometimes you really just have to take the idea back. Don't make decisions when we're in a very heated discussion. We all have to take the idea back, think a little bit more about them, and then maybe we can come up and take a vote. So my family has this practice, we take a vote. So we'll vote. At the end of the day, we'll go with the most votes.
Okay, so Hi-Beau took a big step recently, as I found out. You guys moved from being a distributor of your own brand of supplements to taking manufacturing in-house as well. It's impressive when you see the clean room that you guys have, the R&D that's happening under this roof, the robotics in the warehouse, which most impressed me, by the way. But there must also have been some heavy upfront costs to all of these things. So I'm just wondering, why was taking manufacturing in-house so important for the business?
For us, doing manufacturing was a non-negotiable. It's always in our cards. Number one is, if you own the product, but you don't own the manufacturing, right? You don't actually own the product, because you will never know what is put inside the product, even if you do third-party lab tests. So this is a little bit technical. Many people don't know this, but when you do lab tests, right, how you scope the test, you can only say, I want to test for component A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You have to have a list. There is no such machine, right? You put it in, right, they tell you exactly what every single part of the product is, right? So they actually benchmark each one. So usually the test, they will just test, got this or not, got that or not, on a given list. So you don't know if there's other things added in. And if you read the news, from time to time, there'll always be like, oh, there's like controlled substances found in product A, in product B, product C. Being in the industry for 21 years, we know that eventually we have to bring in manufacturing to our own site. Way back in 2020, we started to slowly bring in all the manufacturing components. Over the years, we actually spent about 50 million building the factory and all of this. So like the robotic system, that's costing us about 1 mil or just for that. It's quite a big step, but I think we are taking it planned also, and we are not really just jumping into something we completely don't know. This is where my dad comes in. So he's the one at the top, at the helm of our manufacturing side, because his professional experience, he's a professional engineer and factory manager.
So perfect.
So perfect, right? So throughout his life, he's managed a lot of 1,000 people, 10,000 people big factories. He has a lot of experience in those. In terms of technical and all that settles. But of course, there's considerations in financing.
Yes.
So
like you
yeah.
mentioned tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
not
even
easy.
most big businesses don't have that kind of money sitting in their
Oh,
bank
yeah.
accounts.
I mean, yeah, nobody really has that kind of cash lah.
Yeah.
You know, until today, we are 100% Singapore family owned. So just my family. We do not have any other investors in the family. And so far, we have worked very well with the banks. So they always help us. For banks like OCBC, they actually have this view of we are serial entrepreneurs. You know, we are actually one entity who
Right.
owns all these different companies, and they will look at us as one big group when they assess, you know, financing options for us and all that.
I mean, just to use some figures, like you said, there
Yeah.
was a recent $1 million upgrade to the
yes.
warehousing system that you guys have. Out of this 1 million, how much of it would typically come from internal financing versus external support?
External support. Usually 50-50.
It's still a
of
hefty
external.
outlay.
Yeah, still a hefty
But it's
outlay
good,
for
it's
sure.
good that you have like partners that look at your entire business spectrum,
yes.
right? Okay, so you mentioned Hi-Beau's products are readily available in 15 different
Yes.
countries. So these are in Southeast Asia,
Yeah.
US, Europe, China, Middle East. So
Yes.
basically across the world from
Yes.
what it looks like.
Yes.
So what has been some of the biggest challenges that you face when especially expanding into different regions in the world?
I think biggest challenge number one is regulatory, because health supplements, right, depends on the country. It can be classified into different things. In some countries, it's classified into food, then it's very easy to do.
Okay.
But some places, it's classified as a drug. So health supplements, technically, it is not an actual, like the way the layman views it, right? It's not the actual regulatory category. So even for our products here, that you will say, oh, it's health supplements, right?
Yeah.
It falls into 5 categories. So it could be food, it could be health supplement, it could be traditional medicine, it could be half medicine, it could be a restricted drug. Singapore, we're kind of spoiled and we're lucky because our government is so clear-cut, you know. We can search up everything online. If we don't know, we just send an email and ask them. They will answer really quite promptly. But overseas, a lot of them is very grey. Their websites don't tell you the full picture. And then, you know, there's a lot of little like nooks and crannies that you have to look for information. So
Right.
it gets very tough. So from that, we also always insist that we have to build a local team. We don't, never do we like send a Singapore team over and to head a local team or like to set up everything. We always just straight up hire local, and then we set up the local team there. We can hire like a country manager, someone who is born and bred and they know everything in that market. So that's one of our key learnings from like all of this.
You said that you're expanding your business in
yes.
Singapore rather than
Yes.
overseas actually.
Yes.
So this really caught me. What happened that made you want to think about growth this way?
You know, expansion and overseas growth, right, is always like so sexy, and all the Singapore companies love to say like, oh, we are putting
Those are the
ourselves
buzzwords.
globally, this and that. Yes, it's important, but sometimes I feel like we forget our Singapore market, our Singapore core, and our home country, right? That's what we've been doing since about 2015, which is 10 years ago. We actually focused 90% of our effort to overseas expansion, and Singapore is just like kind of like we are here, we just maintain it and all. But late 2023, I think by then, you know, all of this global uncertainty kicked in, and our largest export market. So we do sell a lot of made in Singapore products to China, because it's a attractive, you know, overseas product. But China started declining for us quite a bit then, and we thought maybe this is not a good timing to focus a lot of effort into China. Since we're in e-commerce, we actually talk to a lot of our customers directly. Even till today, I do some of our customer service myself, because I think it's very important to have that connection with the ground. And you know, I regret that it took us so long to come back to our Singapore base. So 2013 December, we kind of realized that, and we thought, yeah, this is a market that we fail to serve, and it should be our home market. We should be serving them the best.
Yeah.
Right. So 2014 onwards, I took myself up. I cleared myself completely of everything else, and I started a new brand called Esther Life. That is our first direct from factory brand.
Direct from your own factory.
Direct from our own factory, yes. So it's really everything is manufactured here, shipped out here. And that's the first consumer-driven brand instead of like our own thoughts-driven brand. So like letting the customers tell us what they really want. We ask them, like, what product do you want? And there is such a long list of them. And
so what was the first product? Like what did they really want that you delivered straight away?
First few products were eye supplement, lutein for eye health, and also magnesium glycinate. So this tool still does really well for us. And then we have, of course, we have more like new age products like NMN, which is really hot right now. So that's for cellular energy. Many others, right, that the customers wanted. When we bring it direct from factory, the biggest thing to customers is also cost benefit, because now we're not going through a lot of traditional channels. Direct from factory, they are able to get it at quite a reasonable price. And number two, we are really showing them our factory. So we actually open up our doors for factory tours. In fact, this Saturday, we have like our second factory tour of the year. So we try to host 1 to 2 factory tours to really let people see the behind the scenes, the science behind it, like what really goes on and what we put into products. Otherwise, usually the label is kind of confusing and they never tell you exactly where it's manufactured and all the processes. So we want to have the kind of connection with people who are really taking it, for them to know like where everything comes from, right?
Yeah. No, I think for me was that the biggest one was I didn't realize you guys manufactured in Singapore.
Oh yes,
right?
yes.
So your facility is in Singapore itself. That adds a lot of trust to the brand as well, right? I know it's coming from here directly.
A lot of people don't realize that, like, even when we go out for trade shows, so I was mentioning, I was just out for a trade show. Sometimes people pass by and they're like, hey, I come, but I never knew Singapore had factories, we're also surprised, but it's important for us to have a factory home ground. We can oversee everything. And to be honest, our laws are much more clear here. So we can show people, what really is going on here. That's another reason why we decided to base our factory in Ang Mo Kio instead of Tuas. That's like really kind of like obscure, not accessible.
So you can hold this factory tours
more regularly. Yeah, so we can hold factory tours, so people can really see us being here. I think the market has responded in a great way for us. So last year, Life grew 60% month on month.
Wow.
And this year, we continue to grow at about 20% month on month.
All right,
and
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Did most of this come through the digital channels as well?
Yes, digital.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is that you're already in leadership today.
Oh, yes.
And you've come a long way since you first joined the business. But your parents is also still very much in the company and at the helm of the company, right? So how do you see your role as the next generation business leader, but not yet the business leader?
So for this, I think a lot of people, the next generation, when they come into the business, their ultimate dream, right, is how to take over and become the leader of the business. But for me, right, I hope my parents never retire. We have quite a lot of things going on for us. And to be honest, we are really up and down the value chain quite a bit. We need people of different expertise in different roles. So in terms of like our leadership role and position, I would say we are kind of partners and we are supporting each other, because I do well, then my dad's manufacturing side does well, right? Then he
has more
he
work
does
though.
Yeah, well, he has a lot more work from me. Sometimes he runs from me. So it's really like building this up, and I think in the future our problem really is about how do we get more people into the business, not just family, but professional managers. I'm not looking for, to take over. I wish that we had more like family partners and professional partners, people that we can nurture and grow into our management, and we can grow this business together.
Nice. I like the way you think about that. Okay, I have a last question for you. So this is really looking to the future already.
Yes.
What is your vision for Hi-Beau in like the next decade, both in terms of where you want to take the business and also your impact that you want to have on people's lives?
So when you ask for next decade, right, to be honest, we are very academic and people who like to plan. So decade is very short term.
So you got a ready answer for me actually.
Decade is short term.
I want to answer 20 years.
No. Well, so and we already have, like, for the decade, right, our to-do list is already very clear cut, and so we have also ventured into the R&D space. So we are looking at some ingredients. For example, right now we are focusing on this Mega Crow, which is our own patent submitting processing ingredient that is good for eye health. Because for my parents, something that they regret for their whole lives, that they feel very a lot of parent guilt for, is that my little brother, he has really bad eyesight. From young, every year in primary school, right, he gained 100 degrees. And at the end, through research and all that, they attribute it to him having a really poor diet. He was a really skinny kid, picky eater and all this. And there are scientific studies out there to say, to correlate picky eaters having worse eyesight because they're not getting the correct nutrients. So we have invested into R&D for this. And this whole R&D and patenting of the ingredient and everything, right, that's going to take probably 10 to 20 years.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's already long trajectory.
So you start off with a vision for a product today, and it only comes out around 10 years later.
Yeah, so slowly. So that's something we can only do if we envision for the business to go on for another 100 years. And then we also look at, for example, Ester Life. I've only launched 37 products.
Only?
Yeah, only 37 products over 1 year. I know it's crazy speed, but I have so many requests by my customers, and I have to be like, hold a bit, this will come maybe about next year and stuff. So on my complete wish list, and every day I get new requests, right? Now we are looking at about 150 to 200 products already. So that's
and will
going
this
to
take faster though?
Yeah, a little bit, but we still have to make sure that the quality of each product is good. We have to do the market research, because some of these products that the customer asks, right, we have to tell them that makes no scientific sense, so we have to filter out, we have to find the best ingredient, and we have to even audit all the ingredient sources. I'm also the mom of 3 cats. So very proud mom of my babies. And I have my littlest cat. She's a very, very, very picky eater. And my middle child, she always gets sick, and she always have like UTI and problems, so she has to take supplements. I'm in this industry, right? So I know the behind the scenes, and I'm really not very satisfied with how like pet food and pet supplements are going. So in about 5 years or so, I do want to enter this space. I want to have better nutrition for my babies also, and better supplements, and really bring in a professional team who's trained in all this, like dietetics and all that, to look at pet food and pet supplements and do reformulating and all this. So really, I think for the next 10 years and beyond, the next 100 years, my main focus is how can we use our resources, our factory, our know-hows to bring better quality of life to people and their families, and not just limited to those who walk with 2 legs, but also 4 legs.
That's a very admirable vision to have. And I was just thinking about it when you said it, like animals, pets, right?
Oh, yes.
So alongside Singapore's dropping fertility rate, we are having more and more pets.
A lot
so it
more,
seemed like a very
correct.
natural fit to like expand the business in that direction.
Yes.
Weijia, thank you so much for sharing your story with
No
us.
problem.
From growing up around the business to kind of shaping where the business is headed today. And for those of you tuning in, I hope you've enjoyed today's conversation on the Building series and want to hear from more founders and business leaders. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, or wherever else you may be listening or watching this episode. See you again.